We have a loneliness epidemic in the US. The loneliness epidemic is worldwide and it affects all ages. Loneliness can happen to children, teenagers, young adults, middle age, and even seniors in retirement like me. What's the cause of loneliness? And why do we have a worldwide epidemic of loneliness? I think a lot has to do with technology and social media. I'm all for technology, but you need to have a balance. So how do you deal with loneliness and the loneliness epidemic? Let's not kid ourselves. It won't be easy, and it will take a lot of effort, but it will be worth it. I'll tell you what happened to me a while ago. This was over 20 years ago when I was still working and commuting. I also started a business which I worked at night and on weekends. It was exhausting. A friend of mine convinced me to sell my house and move to Arizona and buy a house there for half the price and live off my savings. And that's exactly what I did. I could work on my business 100% of the time instead of balancing a job, a long commute, and a new business. My daughter and I lived in Arizona for 7 long years. I worked long hours, as much as 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week. Because of my work schedule, I didn't have a social life. And since I was new in town, I didn't have any established friends there. I did have some neighbors that I did see occasionally, but that was very rare. There were times I felt lonely, but because I worked so many hours, it didn't affect me as much. The fear of my business failing was worse than my loneliness feeling. After 7 years, I made the decision to move back to California. I didn't want my move to California to be based on where my family or friends lived. I wanted it to be based on my dreams, somewhere by the ocean. I've always loved the beach, so I moved to the central coast of California, and I love that location. I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to have the same lonely life, all work and no fun. I made a commitment to me that I was going to make an effort to have friends. I wanted to be happy and I wanted a social life. I was determined not to have the same life I had in Arizona. So once my daughter and I moved back to California and we got settled into our new home, we also leased a building for my business. My next step was to work on my social life. The first thing I tried was Craigslist. And I did meet a lot of nice women, but I didn't feel that we had a connection. Then I tried Meetup. I joined a group for women over 55. There was a dinner that I signed up for dinner right on the wharf, which sounded perfect to me, and I was so excited. I got all dressed up, did my hair, my makeup, and put on a nice outfit. And at that time, my daughter and I still lived together. To my surprise, and it was a huge surprise, I started to have a panic attack. I was so nervous that I started shaking. It really surprised me because I've never felt like that before. Maybe because the last 7 years I didn't have a social life. Before I moved to Arizona, I had a very busy social life. So I didn't understand what was going on with me. I was feeling so insecure and nervous. All of these insecure thoughts were racing through my mind. Will these people like me? Am I going to be awkward? Will I know how to talk to people? I almost didn't go. My daughter was there and she tried to convince me to go. She said, "Mom, you look great. You're all dolled up. You're ready to walk out the door. Take a deep breath, breathe, and just go. You're going to have a great time. You look fantastic, so just go." And I did end up going, and it was the best thing that's ever happened to me. There was only 2 other women there, which was good because it felt less intimidating. We had a great connection, and they were both the nicest women I've ever met. We talked for hours, and we finally left because the restaurant was closing. One of the women's name is Sheila, and we walked out to the parking lot together. And we ended up talking for another 20 or 30 minutes. We exchanged phone numbers, and she ended up inviting me to a ladies' brunch that following Monday. Sheila and I became best friends, and she's still my best friend. We think of each other as sisters from a different mister. She's a very wise soul and one of the kindest, most positive people I've ever known. And that was the start of my new social life. That evening magically cured me of my social anxiety. If you're going through something similar, I completely understand. And you'll have to make yourself uncomfortable. That's the honest truth. You might surprise yourself and meet some fabulous people. You are good enough. You are amazing. And people will like you. The original woman who started the meetup group ended up stepping down and I took over. I had a wonderful time with this group and I met so many wonderful people. I even started a second meetup group for men and women over 55. I was so busy with these two meetup groups, but I loved it. I went from zero social life to going out 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times a week. Sometimes it was a lunch or a dinner. Sometimes it was a concert or a music festival, even wine tasting. And I also scheduled pedicure and dinner nights, which was very popular. Sometimes it would be a potluck or planning a walk or a hike. My life completely changed. There are so many ways to meet people. Craigslist, join a meetup group, Facebook. Those are just a few ways to meet people. There are other ways to meet people, for example, through church or joining a charity organization. Many towns have a newcomers group, so check that out. Or you can even start your own meetup group. These are just some of the ways you can deal with loneliness. Just get started. You'll surprise yourself and have a lot of fun and meet a lot of wonderful people just like yourself. You're not always going to have a good connection, but it only takes 1 or 2 people to change your life. It will be worth it because you're worth it. You deserve to be happy and not lonely. We're friends here, so let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope to see you next time. Bye.
I literally parked right there. I'm going to put that in the bloopers. But I'm going to do a bleep when you say
Did I say?
You did. Cute. Pose. 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 Cute.